Thank you, Nicole. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see so many different organizations out here today. Nice to see the sun shining and temperatures out of the 40s. When I was a young staff officer, I was admonished to be brief, be bright, be gone. It's been a few years since I was a young staff officer, so I do not have to be brief, I do not have to be bright, and I will be here a while. They say if you want a new idea, read an old book. So in figuring out what I was going to say today here, I went back to a 250-year-old document for inspiration. Maybe you will recognize it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Hold on to that thought. I'm Chris Himsl. I'm a retired Army colonel and the South Carolina state leader for a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization called Veterans for All Voters. We're a nationwide grassroots effort fighting for responsible government, accountable politicians, civility, and a more perfect union through open and competitive elections. More choice equals more voice. I spent 30 years on active duty with 6 combat deployments in places like Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Iraq. And the mission was always pretty much the same. Create a safe and secure environment so the local population could establish a government of their own choosing. They all chose a form of democracy, giving their people more choice and more voice. I bet you're wondering right now, what's that got to do with instant runoff voting here in South Carolina? How did that guy get to this podium today? I'm here today because I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And like many Americans, I think the country is headed in the wrong direction. I cannot idly stand by as America moves away from its promise. For those not familiar with the military oath, I'd like to share it with you. It's not unlike the oath our congressional leaders swear, but bear with me. Some people would call this the weave, so stay with me. I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, for emphasis, and that I take this obligation freely without mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office about which I'm about to enter. So help me God, or affirm. Every time an officer gets promoted, they reaffirm their oath of office. Their oath is to the Constitution, not to the president or political party, but to the Constitution and by extension to the American people for whom which they serve. In the preamble to the Constitution, our founding fathers laid out the vision and mission statement for every American citizen and for every politician who is elected to represent them. We're still weaving here. We're still weaving. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. My oath, my word, my honor, and the Constitution are why I stand before you here today. So you must ask, how did we get this point in our history where so many Americans and most veterans think our political system is failing us? While our founding fathers did a great job establishing the Constitution, they realized it was an imperfect document and that amendments would be needed over time to secure the blessings of liberty and posterity. The Bill of Rights was the first 10, with the 12th, 14th, 15th, 19th, 23rd, 24th, and 26th all expanding voting rights to all of the people. However, one of the driving considerations behind the U.S. Constitution was the fear of tyranny of the majority. Hence, we have the creation of the Senate and the Electoral College, with the Senate originally being elected by the state legislators and not the popular vote, and votes for the president and vice president indirectly through the Electoral College to ensure the mob did not rule. To further protect against the rule of mob and gain the consent of the governed, plurality voting was instituted to elect our representatives. Plurality elections are simple to run and give each one of the candidates an equal opportunity to win, since the candidate does not require a majority vote. Does not require a majority vote. However, plurality voting, as some of our previous speakers mentioned, encourages low voter turnout, many times results in low voter buy-in for the winning candidate, with many politicians claiming candidates and mandates that don't exist. Plurality voting has, over time, resulted in a tyranny of the minority. Another interesting fact is that nowhere in the Constitution does it empower political parties. The famous checks and balances enshrined in our Constitution vested power in the Congress, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. The founding fathers were quite leery of factions and political parties. President Washington warned us in his farewell address, and I quote, "However, combinations or associations of the above descriptions, political parties, may now and then answer popular ends, they are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for them the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which had lifted them to these unjust domain." Today, our political parties have achieved this dubious distinction. At both the national and local level, parties have usurped the reins of government and are more concerned about gaining and holding on to political power in a zero-sum game competition than governing. Political parties aren't concerned about governing or forming a more perfect union. The combination of toxic partisan politics combined with plurality voting has Americans and South Carolinians disenfranchising voters and backsliding in democracy. This zero-sum game of partisan politics manifests itself in many different ways, from gerrymandered districts to polarization of politics, with extremisms on both sides of the political spectrum being rewarded, to expensive political campaigns to see which politician can sink the lowest the fastest, all resulting in an apathetic and disenfranchised public, with personalities and parties taking priority over the people's plans, programs, and policies, leaving us with a choice between the lesser of two evils. 2 years ago when we did this, we were in lobbying our state house reps, and I got to talk to a sub-committee leader, and we're talking about instant runoff voting, and talking about it, and this is what he said to me directly. "This is very interesting. I will do what the parties tell me to do. I will do what the parties tell me to do. Not what the people want, not what's best for the municipalities, but what the party tells me to do." Take, for example, South Carolina Senate races in 2024. In 2024 general election, 75% of South Carolina's eligible voters went to the polls through absentee, early, and same-day voting. There are 46 gerrymandered South Carolina Senate district seats, consisting of about 87,000 people per district. Of the 46 races, 20 candidates ran unopposed, and another 4 ran against independent or third party, meaning over half of the Senate seats were decided before the general election was even held. While overall turnout voting was 75%, in the uncontested Senate races, less than 50% of the voters voted for their senator. And if you were an incumbent and told the party line, you weren't primaried. However, we saw what happened when 5 female senators didn't toe the party line. The party took the people's choice away. No choice is no voice. South Carolina Senate does not represent the people of South Carolina. They represent the extremes of the 2 major political parties and their donors, and aren't accountable to the people for their failed policies. And if you think the House is any better, it's actually worse. 70 of the 124 House seats races went unopposed, with another 5 lightly contested. The House, just like the Senate, doesn't represent the people and is only accountable to party and donors. Our unaccountable state legislatures have produced poor policies to the detriment of the people. Politics is the allocation of resources, and partisan politics results in poor outcomes for the economy and society. Take, for example, U.S. News and World Report's rankings of best states. South Carolina ranks 41st out of 50 states, and that's the good news. Last year it was 42nd, and the 5 years previous to that, it was stuck at 42nd. The rankings are based on 71 metrics across 8 major categories: healthcare, education, the economy, infrastructure, opportunity, fiscal stability, crime and corrections, and the natural environment. South Carolina's top categories are 19 for natural environment and 22 for the economy. All other categories rank below 25, while scoring 43 in crime and corrections and 42 in both opportunity and education, with the last two reflecting poor outcomes for our young people. South Carolina didn't move up based on improved policies. It moved up because Michigan regressed and fell behind South Carolina. It's just not U.S. News and World Report. The Health and Democracy Index ranks South Carolina in the bottom 10 as well. Their research demonstrates that communities with more inclusive voting enjoy greater social cohesion, improved community conditions, and better health. The list goes on of organizations that track voting rights by states as it relates to social and economic outcomes. And South Carolina ranks on the lower end of the spectrum on all of these indices. We all know the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Unless we change the way we elect our representatives, we will continue to have poor outcomes for a majority of our citizens. House Bill 3589, instant runoff voting for municipalities, is a step in the right direction. Instant runoff voting is a time-tested, established majority rule at lower costs while encouraging civility among candidates. Australia has used instant runoff voting for over 100 years, with multiple U.S. municipalities and states adopting a form of instant runoff voting over the past couple of decades. South Carolina's overseas military members have been using instant runoff voting for years using their absentee ballots. Despite uninformed arguments that instant runoff voting is complicated, instant runoff voting is simple. We rank preference items every day, from restaurants to ice cream to college football conferences. It just means more in the SEC. It's not complicated. It's not hard, and South Carolinians deserve the same option as our serving military members and not have to choose between the lesser of two evils. Open primaries and instant runoff voting encourages voter participation, civility, and cost savings for local governments, candidates, and the people. The more political power the people have, the better outcomes for the people. We the people can no longer consent to be governed by political parties, big dollar donors, and unaccountable politicians. We must take back our rights through instant runoff voting. Contact your representatives and demand passage of House Bill 3589. More choice, more voice.